Aloha, people. Another beautiful Friday with great opportunities. Another beautiful day to end the week. It's great to have you here. Welcome to our live session today. Welcome once again this Friday. Today, the 30th of May 2025. Today, we're talking about the RSI and its applications. Now, as always, you know me, I'm Atomashi Dania, Vestrado's Global Market Analyst. Okay, it's great to have you on board with us. We are Vestrado, you know us. We have offices and representations all over the world: Malaysia, Dubai, China, Indonesia, Singapore, Nigeria, Kenya, South Africa, and so on and so forth. We are here for you. We got asset classes ranging from stocks to indices to commodities to forex to crypto. As much as you have it, whatever it is you want to trade in the financial world, we got it right here. And we have a very tight spread. We got tight spread ranging from 0.4 to 0.6 or 0.8, depending on which account you are using. Deposits and withdrawal with us Vestrado are like this. Very fast. Very fast. So this is a live recording. Okay. This is simply a live recording so that clients like you or interested traders like you can always come on board and watch, learn, and perhaps become better traders. Okay. Capture better, more profits, and be more stable in the market. Welcome again. So, what are we going to be doing today? We are simply going to be doing the RSI and its applications. So many of us know about the RSI. It's not a new topic. A lot of us know its uses, but perhaps many of us are having problems with its application. I do not know what the RSI could be used for. We're going to touch upon this evening. Now, stay with me one moment, please, as we go into the usage of the RSI. Now, in the course of today's training, we're definitely going to look at Telegram tips, some of the advice entry levels we gave. Today, Friday, how did we fare? We're also going to be looking at the RSI, the practical applications, and perhaps some tradable opportunities going into the weekend for those of us who like to trade crypto over the weekend, and perhaps also going into next week. What some assets or pairs look like, possible predictions and analysis, okay, on them. Now, let's wait a bit for a few people to join us. Again, this is a live recording. You can always come back to watch as many times as possible. Okay, so first and foremost, let's go into Telegram. Let's see what happened um, in the markets today. How did we fare on our channel on Telegram? Okay, look. So, by the way, the way to join our Telegram channel is thus. The social media handle for Telegram is at Vestrado Global. Just simply go to your Telegram app, type the words at Vestrado Global the way they appear here on your Telegram, search for us, and you can find us very easily. Okay. Again, this is a live session, not just for recording purposes. Abdul Hasib, hi, hello, welcome. Great to have you. Not just for recording purposes, but for so that you can always ask your questions. If the question is pertaining to this topic, go ahead, ask your questions. If it's not, fine. Also ask your questions. Anything plaguing you at all in the financial markets, ask right here. That's the essence of this webinar. To take advantage of responses and advice from an analyst like myself. Okay. Abdul Hasib, hello. I'm going to try to respond as much as I can. Welcome. Okay, so um, let's get into the action. Let's look at what Telegram has got in store for us. What did we do on Telegram this week? How did we fare? Okay, how did we fare? All right, take a look at this. Now, earlier in the day, what did we have? We had a quick advice on news to expect and how to interpret it and trade it, okay, as it gets released, depending on whether it comes out better than expected or poorer than expected. And what data did we have today? We had the core PCE price index today from the US, and we also had um, the Canadian GDP data. All right. Now we had the quadruple take profit, four take profits captured on Ethereum based on weekly outlook given on Monday in the course of the week. This is it. Ethereum right here. You can always go there. Check. We also had take profit alerts from Outlook given on our Facebook Live. By the way to find us on Facebook is also the same handle, Vestrado. You can find us on Facebook very easily. We had a take profit given, obtained during the Facebook Live based on signals given. All right, you can go there and watch it. Very easy to find. We had two take profits on GBP JPY. We had three take profits on USD JPY, and we had three take profits on Euro USD. We had intraday scalping opportunity and advice. Okay, I sent an advice based on scalping opportunities for the USD JPY, how to approach it. And I said buy above 143.72 to 143.89 as take profit. And then MJ Global Games, welcome. So I said buy above 143.72 to 143.89, and that's exactly what price did. Price soared above that, and we had some very good take profit there on that one. All right, that's what we had today. We had an interpretation of the core PCE price index and the Canadian GDP data. We had the USD JPY take profit alert, as we can see right there from the scalping opportunity given. Welcome, MG Global Games. MJ Global Games, sorry. How do we mean to say what? Ask your questions, anything pertaining to the markets or pertaining to today's topic. Okay, what else do we have on Telegram? That's that. We had an educational tip on the RSI, and we said to know more of on the RSI, come join our training today. All right. Now let's go into the real action right here. Enough chit chat. Okay, so the RSI. First and foremost, let's get our topic in check and put it right there for us. The RSI, the Relative Strength Index, and its applications. Okay, great. So let's establish a few facts. For those of us who are familiar with my trainings, you know that I like to establish a few facts when talking about topics, be it on YouTube or Facebook. Okay, and what are these few facts? All right, the RSI is an age old oscillator. The RSI is an old oscillator. I don't care what you think, what your training knowledge or experience is. The RSI has been in existence for a long time. And it's not just been in existence for the Forex market or the crypto market. The RSI has been in existence for um, different financial markets. Okay. So that's fact number one. Let's establish these few facts going forward. Now, fact number two, of course, we'll explain deep. Don't worry. Mr. James, MJ Global Games. We'll go very deep. You can ask your questions anyway. The second fact that I want you to stop is this. The RSI was developed by a guy named James J. Wells Wilder Jr. in the 1970s. All right. Now, okay, it was invented in the 1970s. Next, it's quite effective in different financial markets, such as stocks, forex, crypto, commodities, and so on and so forth. Now, what's the other fact here? Yeah, the RSI is very effective. I'll tell you why. Another fact you need to note is that for me, all right, for me, I believe and I think very strongly that the RSI is the king of oscillators in the market. Okay, so let's keep that there. Now, going further, let's establish a few more facts. MJ Global Games, well, there are different RSI strategies. Every time I end um, a training, I always say something. There are millions of traders as there are thousands of strategies in the market. No man is an island. No one strategy is king. I'm going to say that again. So there are different strategies. I'm going to share a few. All right. But if you've been following this training back to back, if you watched the Facebook live session yesterday, centered around do indicators really work? Part two. You can go to our Facebook page and find that out. Do indicators really work? Part two. In that strategy, I employ the usage of RSI 3 times. Okay, so you want to check that strategy. It's a strategy filled with 9 setups. A strategy that contains 9 setups. If you go to that strategy, I'm going to show it to you here on YouTube. Okay, you can find one simple example of how to apply the RSI in the market. All right, let's go further. Now, other facts to set here is in order to understand the RSI, let's state out its major uses. So, the major uses of the RSI. We're going to start afresh from the simplest knowledge of the RSI to advanced and more advanced knowledge on the RSI. Also, because of the beginners among us, beginners might come to this video and watch. Not everybody is a veteran trader. So before we go deep, we'll start from the simplest areas. Now, the major user of the RSI one to assess, of course, as you know, um, uh, overbought, oversold levels. Okay, so it's an oscillator. I use it to identify overbought and oversold price levels. 2, to identify divergence. Divergence. 3, talking about to assess, perhaps maybe to even pick out signals. Okay. I mean to confirm trend directions. All right. So these are the major uses of the RSI. Let's keep this right there. All right. On the side. Now, let's try to explain what overbought or oversold levels are. We're going to start with the first one. Now, explaining overbought and oversold levels. All right. So I want you to picture it this way, right? Imagine that. Uh, imagine that um, today we have a drug called Reprofast. Okay, and Reprofast goes for about, say, 50 US dollars. Okay, but then on the side, we know that in vitro fertilization costs about, say, $2,000, for example, right? And then it just so happens that the character of other block in trading. Okay, I'll try and look for other blocks and share that with you, Abdul Hasib. I'll show you other blocks on the chart towards the end of the training. When I talk about trading opportunities, we look for other blocks on the chart. The character, you say. By character, what do you mean? What kind of character? But I'll talk about that. Now, assume that a rumor gets spread that Reprofast can increase um, chances of getting pregnant by, say, by 50%, right? What happens? At that point in time, when people find this out, this rumor drove or eventually could drive huge demand for Reprofast. Yeah. Hello, Abdullasib. I see you. Okay. Huge demand for Reprofast. I see you. I'm going to try to answer your question, Abdullasib. Don't worry. Um, Let me respond to your chat. All right. Good. So, what happens to the demand? Of course, we know that when demand is greater than supply, what happens to price? Price increases. Okay. Or when supply is more than demand, what happens to price? Price decreases. Okay, this is simple economic principle. Now, so say that rumor gets spread out in the market, in the world about Reprofast. What happens to Reprofast? Let's follow along so that we understand overbought and oversold levels. For beginners in the house, this is for beginners in the house. Veteran traders perhaps will not need this. Look, assume that the price of Reprofast starts to go up. At some point, it gets to, right, $500, keeps going up and up and up like that, eventually gets to $100. I'll show you. Now, next, or 1,000 rather, dollars, eventually gets to 1,000, say 1,004, starts rising to as high as what? $1,800. And then everybody starts thinking, hello, wake up, wake up, wake up. In vitro fertilization that also, okay, in vitro fertilization that also increases chances of getting pregnant is 2,000 USD. $2,000. So how is it a drug that increases the chances by 50% is going for 1,008, and in vitro fertilization that has higher chances is 2,000 US dollars? And then human psychology. Psychology is very important in trading. At this point, people will start thinking this guy is too close to the price for in vitro fertilization. Why don't I just go for a simple procedure, simple IVF in vitro fertilization, rather than spend $1,800 on a drug? So at this point, it gets to a price level where it just can't go up anymore. It can't go up anymore. This price level, okay, this price level is what we call um, overbought region. The overbought region. Stick with me. I'll show you strategies on the RSI. Don't worry. The overbought region. So at this point in time, what do we see? Because price refuses to go further, the demand, people start opting out of buying repro fast. The demand starts to drop. And what did I tell you? I said, if supply exceeds demand, what happens to price? Price starts to fall. Nobody keeps buying anymore. All right. RSI in every time frame is different. How do you identify? I'll show you on the charts. Don't worry. And if you still don't understand it, then ask your question again. Abdul Hasib, I'll show you. Don't worry. So look, at this point, price starts to drop. The price level where price cannot just go up anymore, cannot rise anymore. That price level is called the overbought region. Now, at a price level where price keeps going and going and going down, drops, and cannot just go further anymore. Looks like it has hit a brick wall here. Okay. This price level is what we tag as the oversold region. The oversold region. Okay. Now, what happens to price? At this point, 70% of the time, 70% of the time, price tends to do what? Starts to reverse. Price just can't go down anymore. Here, price cannot go further up anymore. Overbought region. So the RSI has got two levels. Okay. The RSI has got two levels. The 70 watermark, 70% level, and the 30% level. Okay. So when price touches or perhaps goes above the 70% mark, okay, it's often called or tagged as overbought. I will share with you the mistakes that many traders make when applying the RSI. If price touches or goes below the 70 watt above the 70 watermark, it's often seen as overbought. If you are a student or a client rather, trading with us, we have nice beginner videos for you. You can always talk to your account manager for this. Okay. Now, on the other hand, if price touches or goes below the 30 watermark, it's often seen as oversold 70% of the time on the RSI. But do you know that? Did you know that? Look, Nothing in trading. I want you to understand something. There are no guarantees in trading. In trading, you deal with probabilities. The earlier you come to understand that, the easier it is for you to trade the market. You deal with a situation where price has a high probability of going in a certain direction. That's why you have something called high probability trade, low probability trade, moderate probability trade. Check Facebook. The topic is there. Do indicators really work? So, newsflash: the RSI can sometimes give false signals. So the question now becomes, how do you identify those false signals? Okay. Answer: number one, by having a strategy, by having a trading strategy. Two, by combining with other indicators. Okay. How do you make sure the RSI doesn't give you false signals? Combine with other indicators, combine with a trading strategy, use the trading strategy rather. Okay. By combining with high probability chart patterns. Okay. But for me, really, I have this very simple strategy which I like to share with my students who are going for mentorship. I can't give you everything in this training. I can try to give you as much. Okay. For me personally, I like to combine the RSI. Okay. Personally, I combine the RSI with moving averages. Okay. In order to fish out false overbought or oversold levels. That's what I do. I like to combine it. But before I combine it, you see, let's just go over to the strategy so that you understand what I'm talking about. Now, before we move over to that strategy, there's something called divergence in the market. How does the RSI help with divergence? I can't talk about divergence so much in this class. I'm going to talk about it later on in other trainings, strictly divergence on different indicators. The MACD, all right, the volume analysis indicator, money flow index indicator, RSI indicator, stochastics, how they tell divergence. So let's a side note, side lecture. What is divergence? Divergence is when, simply put for a trader, an oscillator such as the RSI signals a potential reversal of price action before it even begins to form reversal patterns. Again, divergence is when an oscillator such as the RSI signals a potential reversal of price action before it even begins to form reversal patterns. Now, let's give you an example of divergence. I can't touch upon it fully in this training. I can try to touch upon it as simply enough. Look, for example, price is doing this. Okay, say this is price. And then the RSI, and then the RSI does this. So let's establish those two levels. 70, 30. Okay. You have the RSI looking like this. So if you connect the lows, for example, divergence is another training. If you connect the lows on price, it's telling you uptrend, right? But the RSI is telling you what? If you connect the same lows, the RSI is simply telling us what? Downtrend. So here the RSI is signaling to us that price is about to reverse. There's an imminent reversal coming, imminent reversal downwards. Now, this can also happen when you connect the highs. Look, this is called negative divergence. Let's put that there. Negative divergence. Okay. So this can also happen when you connect the highs, not just the lows. So say you have something like this. Say you have something like this. You connect the highs in price. It's telling you uptrend, right? And if you connect the same highs on the RSI, it's telling you what? Downtrend. Also negative divergence. This is what the RSI does. This is how it tells you divergence is imminent. Now, if price is telling you there's a reversal going downwards, that's negative divergence. But on the flip side, if price does this, right? Price and the RSI does this. Let's mark out our levels first. 70 and then 30. I will share strategies with you very soon for the RSI. So you have something like this. Okay. If you connect the highs on price, it's telling you what? Downtrend. But if you connect the same highs, what's it telling you? Uptrend. Okay, this is called positive divergence. This is called positive divergence. Simply put, very easy. It's simply telling you that price is about to do what? Go up, positive. If RSI is signaling to you that price is about to come down, negative divergence. Very simple. Now, this can also happen when talking about not just the highs, but also the lows. Say you connect the lows on price, what do you have? Downtrend. And you connect the same lows, what do you have? Uptrend. Okay? So that's divergence. And that's how the RSI signals divergence. The other way the RSI can tell you that is function for you is confirming. One moment, please. Confirming. Remember, functions of the RSI to confirm trend directions. Now, this is a bit complex, but in my experience, it's not so effective. So I'm not going to touch upon this today so much. We're going to focus on these two: overbought, oversold levels, and divergence. And if you've been with us on Telegram, you will know that I always talk about divergence. I make emphasis to it a lot, and I talk about overbought and oversold levels, how to apply it to a strategy. Now let's go over to a simple strategy which I gave on Facebook yesterday. How do I apply the RSI? I just told you um, I use it with other indicators, and I use it in combination with other chart patterns, and I use it in a strategy, within a strategy. Look at this strategy right here. I gave this strategy on Facebook. It's quite effective. Look, a simple strategy for reversals with price rejection. So the first step in that strategy is visible price rejection. I'll share it with you because this is happening on Bitcoin and Ethereum right now. Visible price rejection, right? Next step on the strategy is price at support or resistance, which is visible using an indicator such as the pivot point or the moving averages. This 5% probability there, go to the video on the indicators really work part 2 on Facebook, and you understand why we put this probability there. Now, the next step is price at overbought or oversold level. So before I started using the RSI, take notes, please. Take notes. Before I started using the RSI, okay, exhibiting rejection, price rejection. That's number one. Now, also before I started using the RSI, I also wanted to see price at either support or resistance. Because what do these two things tell you? These two things tell you a story. What's the story? Psychologically, traders are reacting to a price level, or banks are reacting to a price level, and price is struggling to strongly break past that level. There's a strong reversal. That's what price rejection means. Sharp and strong reversal. If you want to know about price rejection, watch the video on Facebook, setting your stop loss with a universal strategy. Go to Facebook. Now, price at support and resistance also tells you if there's an indicator there, what is support and resistance. If you've been on the beginner section of our webinar, talk to your account managers. I talked about ways of assessing support and resistance. You can also find the video on YouTube. Ways of assessing support and resistance, part 1 or part 2. You could either find it at a psychological level, assess support and resistance using complex reversal patterns, using indicators, or using previous historical data. So I want to see these two things before I even start to think of, okay, where is my RSI? You see that? Then at the third setup, the third step in the strategy, then I'm thinking, is price at overbought or oversold level using the RSI? So the RSI came to play in the third step. And how many setups? 9. The next step is the RSI giving negative or positive divergence? Still using the RSI. That's the fourth step. So the next step in this strategy is the presence of complex reversal patterns. You can see how I'm trying to increase the effectiveness of the RSI. First, I want to see a story telling me that there's reversal. This strategy is for reversal, right? Next, I want to see price at support or resistance. And then after the RSI has served its uses by telling me that there's price rejection, rather there's price is overbought or oversold, or price is exhibiting negative or positive divergence. Next, I want to see the presence of complex reversal patterns. We can see that right there. What are complex reversal patterns? Again, you can find this training on YouTube, making consistent income with complex reversal patterns. Abdul Hasib says sometimes RSI overbought zone 92%. Okay. All right. We'll talk about that. Now, look. Next step on the strategy, the break of equilibrium range, trend line, previous significant swing high or swing low. That's the next step. If you want to know what that is, go to Facebook. Now, the presence of continuation patterns on lower time frame, that's the next step. I want to see the presence of continuation patterns telling me that a reversal is coming. Lower time frame supporting higher time frame. For example, and then early signal using an indicator cross. Okay, either using a moving average or MACD or something. Next, I want to see the presence of volumes. You can see 9 setups in this strategy. This is a comprehensive strategy with 9 setups with the application of the RSI. This increases here. The last step in the strategy says presence of volumes. What are volumes? Again, this video is present on Facebook. The title, volume analysis in price action. YouTube. You can find it on YouTube, volume analysis in price action. Okay. So this increases the effectiveness of the RSI. Now, let's look at more simpler strategies applying the RSI. Let's look at simpler strategies applying the RSI. Look, simpler strategies applying the RSI. For those who are doing swing trading, I don't recommend such simple strategies unless you have good money in your account. Okay, you are using small lot size, small to moderate lot sizes. Much simpler strategies. Applying the RSI. And this is where Abdul Hasib's question of yes, RSI at 92%. Look, so much simpler strategies applying the RSI for reversal, right? Now, there's another function of the RSI that I did not mention. Look, pay attention to this. The RSI can also be to identify extended trends. Extended trends. This is where your question comes to play. Abdul Hasib. The RSI can be used to identify extended trends. What are extended trends? Let me give you an example. Okay. Let's give you an example of an extended trend. Say, for example, you have price. Okay. This is the RSI at 70%. And this is the watermark at 30%. So let's call this guy. Let's call this guy 90%. Say 85 to 90%. If price goes this high, okay, if the RSI goes this high, 70% of the time, what does price do? This is something that many traders forget or do not pay attention to. And over this point, price, okay, let's take this away. Now, over this point, price tends to form an extended trend. Price tends to form an extended trend. Okay? Meaning it tends to continue. What does extended trend mean? Look, for example, It looks like we're having network issues here. Let's try to see if we can remedy that. Okay. So look at what price often does. Gone up and up. At this point, say overbought. Extended trend means your question, Mr. Abdul Hasib. When it now gets to around 85 to 90, what happens? Price just keeps going and up and up and up and up like that. Extended trend. You expect a reversal, but 70 to 80% of the time, when it goes beyond 85 to 90% on the RSI, price tends to continue going in that direction. That's a good question, Mr. Abdul Hasib. Good question. You expect a reversal, but 70 to 80% of the time. Good question, Abdul Hasib. I hope you have more. Keep asking more. All right, let's try to show you examples on the chart. But 70 to 80% of the time. Good question, Abdul Hasib. One moment, please. We're here. Okay, let's try to show you that on the chart. Extended trend, we just talked about that. There's something else I want to show you here. Okay, anyway, let's just go further. Now let's go into the charts. Everything we are doing, we have to show it on the charts. I hope the sound is good. I'm trying to respond to Abdul Hasib here. Now let's go into the charts. Yes, so what do we have? Applications of the RSI. So someone asked a question. He says, the RSI is often different, often appears differently on different time frames. How do we know? How can we tell? Okay, here you go. Now, let's start with Bitcoin and Ethereum. By the way, we've captured our take profits on Bitcoin. If you're on the Facebook Live yesterday, congratulations. All take profit captured right around here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Good money. But what did we see? First off, look, 4-hour chart. If I apply the RSI, okay, the lows on the RSI, on price rather, okay, what informed our decision at the time? We were here, okay? And then we connected to price right around here. You can see right there, price informed us that a reversal was coming before we spotted the reversal. So before the reversal started, we already talked about it on the Facebook Live, using negative divergence formed on the 4-hour chart, okay, on Bitcoin. And then what else? We saw the 1, 2, 3 reversal pattern form. The key support area here being the neck. Now, this is part of the strategy I gave. All right. Price hit. Don't get it twisted. Look, price hit significant swing high here, 110,000. It was reacting to that psychological level. Okay. There was no price ejection. There was no price ejection. But what do we see? So, by the way, in your strategy, it's not compulsory that all 9 setups are met. Looks like the chart is not visible to some people. So all right, you can see that right there. Okay. Price reacting to 11,000 psychological level right here. Same thing around here. 110,000 rather, or 111,000. Let's use 111,000 psychological level. Price was reacting to it. On some platforms, it went as high as 112,000. Yeah. On Vestrado's platform is just 33, about 300 pips away from 112,000. Very close to it. So let's use that. Okay. Now let's go back to our strategy and try to see how that pans out. How does that pan out? I'm going to share that with you in a bit. The camera seems to be obstructing the view. So let's make that smaller. There you go. All right. Now let's go back to the strategy. What do we have there? Look, we said, first off, we want to see price rejection. There was no price rejection on this trade on Bitcoin, but price was at support and resistance. Was at resistance. Resistance being price was overbought. I'll show you that on the RSI. And price was reflecting negative divergence. And then there was also the present in our strategy. Look, I'll share that with you again. Into 112,000 psychological level. Next, we have um, um, price forming complex reversal patterns, 1, 2, 3 reversal pattern. Then we have price at overbought level. This is price being overbought. It was already overbought right here. In fact, if you connect the highs on price and connect the same highs on the RSI, negative divergence again, 2 ways, connecting the lows and connecting the highs. So that has been established. Now we formed our equilibrium point right here, break point. This is the neck or the confirmation level of the 1, 2, 3 reversal pattern. For those who are not familiar with 1, 2, 3 reversal patterns, go to our video on making consistent income with complex reversal patterns. Same on YouTube. We said on Facebook a break of 106890 would see price touch upon 106364, 106103, 104976, and 104200. Now, 5 setups met on our strategy. Let's go back. Let's go back. The break of the equilibrium point happened, which is a confirmation level. Okay. Or break of trend line. There was a trend line there. I'm going to draw it. Presence of continuation pattern on lower time frame. An early signal using a moving average cross. Look. Then the presence of volumes. Let's see if we have those three on the chart. We have, this is where we are. This is where the break happened, right around here. Let's put a vertical line there. The break happened around here. Let's give that the green vertical line. Now let's try to trace that on lower time frame. Was there a continuation pattern on 1 hour chart? No. Was there some on 30 minutes chart? No. Was there a continuation pattern on 15 minutes chart? Okay. Yes. I'll show that to you in a bit. I'll show that to you in a bit. When the break happened right around here. Let's see. On the 5 minutes chart, were there continuation patterns? Where's our vertical line? Yes. So we'll start with the 15 minutes chart. What did we see? Descending triangle. Descending triangle. Now, what's the peculiar feature of a descending triangle? Okay. A descending triangle states that when price is going down and you see a descending triangle, there's a strong probability that price will do what? Continue in the downward direction. So at the breakage point, right around here, where price broke it, a descending triangle formed. What other continuation pattern do we have? Look right here. Rising wedge. I'm going to delete the descending triangle right now. What other continuation patterns do we have? Look, rising wedge. Okay. For those who are familiar with continuation patterns, a rising wedge, if you don't know how to spell that, let's try to put that there for you. In a downtrend, if you see a rising wedge, 70% of the time, price tends to do what? Continue going down. What else? For the moving average signal, I'm not going to share that with you. Come to my training. Sign up. If you are a student of ours, I'm going to share the moving average early signal. You're a client of ours, the moving average early signal for you. Now, what else? Look, volume. The presence of this candle right here, 1 and 2, already indicates that there's a presence of volume. Volume, volume. Let's look at the volume analysis indicator. Let's look at the volume analysis indicator. You see that? Look, very beautiful. This guy right here. Nice volume bar. 3 times the length of when the breakage happened. Okay, all candles, at least twice, this candle is at least twice the length of almost all candles before it. Massive volumes. Telling you that huge number of sellers have entered the market. This is the second breakage point. The first breakage point right here, you can see that massive volumes in green right there. What else are you looking for? And then look at price. We just captured this take profits on Bitcoin. You see, based on the analysis we gave, all right, we captured 1, 2, 3, 4 take profits. That's thousands of pips. Thousands of pips, ladies and gentlemen. So, in rounding up, let me share with you some simple RSI strategies. I hope you stayed with us. If you did, you wouldn't miss this point. Some simple RSI strategies. Now, as we round up, Abdul Hasib, I hope you learned something. Some other simpler RSI strategies. Look, so we have RSI at 80%, 75, you can say 77 to 82%, plus uh, complex reversal patterns. Okay, say 77 to 85%, right? Plus complex reversal patterns plus negative divergence plus uh, MACD cross, MACD trigger cross. This is one strategy, simpler strategy, simpler than the one I gave. I just gave. I gave. So next we have the RSI at 80 to 85%. All right. These simple strategies are especially good for pensioners or people with large volume or rather high capital and are doing swing trading. They're looking for great signals and just want to enter. Okay. Complex reversal patterns. Uh, Simple or complex reversal patterns on higher time frame. On higher time frames, such as 4-hour chart, such as the daily chart. Okay. You see this, and then plus moving average cross, moving average cross. Okay. And then you could say plus break of trend line, or break of significant swing high or swing low. Okay. Next, perhaps RSI at 80 to 85% plus complex reversal patterns. Now, this second strategy is good for swing traders, good for swing traders. Okay. And traders and those with huge capital. These are simple strategies. Next, RSI plus complex reversal patterns plus fair value gap. Scalpers will like this, day traders will like this. Fair value gap plus uh, break off plus moving average cross or MACD cross plus break of trend line or break of significant. Now, the key point in this strategy is the fair value gap. That's the major difference. Okay. So these are three simple strategies where you could apply the RSI effectively. Okay. The third one, very good for scalpers or day traders. If you don't see a fair value gap, you don't see complex reversal patterns, you don't see a break of significance, they are simple for scalpers and day traders. The first one is also quite effective for day traders and swing traders. So day trading and all swing traders. Okay. Um, let's see. This one I say effective for day traders and scalpers. Okay. What else? Yes. Next. RSI at 80 to 85% plus demand price of demand or supply zone. Okay. Plus, or we could say plus fair value gap plus breakage of supply, demand or supply zone plus volumes. Plus volumes. It all depends. All right. For me, again, these are simple strategies, but for me, I like to, if you have good money in your account, okay, all these strategies are very effective for traders with, um, let's add volume to everything, plus volumes. Yes, plus volumes. Also in red, let's highlight that. Okay. Same thing with this guy, because I like to wait for volumes for everything. You want to do the same. You want to do the same. How to identify volume? Watch the video on YouTube, volume analysis in price action, and you know how. Very easy peasy. Okay. And then this guy, also plus volumes. Simple strategy, right? You can practice it with your demo trading account and see if it works for you. See if it works for you. All right. I hope there's no more question. We are calling the live session to a quit right now. It was great to have you as always. Now, let's look at some tradable opportunities going into the weekend. XRP USD has formed a very peculiar pattern here. Okay. Uh, it looks like it wants to test lower levels, but no significant region. Well, let's look at this. Euro JPY looks like it wants to test lower levels. It seems to have formed huge some price ejection right here. Price ejection. So a break off my trend line could see price touch upon. If it breaks the trend line, perhaps for Euro JPY, I would sell to 163.33 or perhaps 163.30 for scalping moves on Euro JPY. Now let's look at um, USD JPY, we have seen Bitcoin. So USD JPY, if seems to be quite correlated with Euro JPY nicely. If we see a break, price moving nicely along a trend line right there. Let's connect that. So if we see a break of the trend line, then price could touch upon this is going into Monday. Could touch upon 143.80 if it breaks the trend line, and then if it goes below that, 143.72. All right. I favor bearish positions on the USD JPY anytime. But if it doesn't, and it decides to go up, so my key area will be 144.22. If you break strongly above that, then we could see it touch upon 144.40 USD JPY. All right. Now let's see Euro USD if there's anything catchy on the pound or the GBP USD. All right, the GBP USD also shows that it broke below a channel and seems to be testing lower levels. Okay, I see that my screen is not showing here. Yes, so let's go back again. I see that some of us missed out on that. So we'll go back to XRP USD, looking to test lower levels, but Bitcoin, if you look at the daily chart on Bitcoin, okay, we see that it has broken below our strong trend line right here. Okay, it was moving nicely along a trend line, broke below it, tested lower levels. We've talked about that already in our training. Now, going into the weekend, okay, going into the weekend, if price breaks below 104.20, then I will likely consider selling to 103.268 for Bitcoin. If it goes below that, perhaps to 102.317 for Bitcoin. Ladies and gentlemen, what else did we talk about? We talked about the Euro JPY. Yes. For the Euro JPY, we said some nice price rejection is forming right here. And we said that if price breaks below this trend line, which is doing right now, you better sell on Euro JPY right now. Don't wait. Don't wait. You better do the selling. My first take profit level will be around, let's put it at 163.30 or 163.31. Scalping. Okay. For Euro JPY. 163.31. All right. On the flip side, if price happens to break above key resistance area here, if it breaks above key resistance area, you can see 1, 2, 3 right there. Then there's a good chance it could touch upon 163.52. If it goes above that, then we could see it touch upon the moving average by 163.58. But what's my take? I'm bearish on this guy because of the strong price rejection right here. It's looking to test lower levels. So I will sell. If I'm scalping Euro JPY, I'll scalp to be safe to 3.2 or 3.1. Okay, Euro JPY. Going into Monday, you could leave the trade open. If it closes, it could open in a profit early hours of Monday. All right. USD JPY also looking very promising. Look, this guy, um, if you watch the weekly outlook on USD JPY, you know that I've been talking about the fact that it's been having a strongly bearish outlook. So it's moving nicely along an ascending trend line. Price just moving nicely along it. If it breaks past it, my first take profit point on USD JPY will be set at 143.80, or perhaps this close right here, 143.81. If it breaks below this trend line, if it goes below that, my next take profit point will be set at, let's be safe, 143.75, scalping. Or if you're adventurous enough, 143.74, scalping. Okay. If you want to do day trading and you're sure that price will go long, okay, if it goes below that, there's a good chance that it could touch upon this guy right here, 143.64. Going into next week. All right, let's look at GBP USD. Then we'll look at Ethereum and we'll call it a day. GBP USD broke below a channel, looking to test lower levels. Right now, it's not showing anything promising, so I will not take the risk. Also, the USD Swiss not showing anything I like, not showing any convincing moves. Let's look at oil. Let's look at oil. Oil also not showing me anything convincing. That's UK oil, Brent crude. But US oil, it's showing me something very interesting here. Look, let me take away my indicators. We see price from a supply zone right here. Look, this is US oil. It's very easy to spot, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Now this goes to the concept of order block. Somebody asked the question of order block levels. Look, we can call this a sort of order block level, yeah? Where you have price reacting not just in support, but in resistance. So let's mark it. I think Abdul Hasib asked this question. So, 1, I said I'll show you on the chart. We'll have another training centered on other blocks. Because of time, I can't share everything on other blocks with you today. Okay. Because you asked Abdul Hasib, I will treat that topic in 2 weeks or next week. Look at areas where price reacted to that level. The market reacted to that price level. Other blocks are like bank levels. Okay, where you know that there have been so many others. You see this? Price is reacting to a level both in support and resistance. I hope it's becoming clear enough. So you are seeing here support, swing low, here swing high resistance, here swing high resistance, here swing low, significant swing low support, here significant swing low support, and here finally significant swing low support. So what do? We know that this is definitely a sort of supply zone, right? Order block level. If price breaks past it significantly going down, this is US oil, ladies and gentlemen. My first TP level will be set at Okay, this swing low right here, or the close of this significant swing low right here. And if it goes below that, then my next level will be at the low of the significant swing low, 58.86. The first one, 59.48. The second one, 58.86. And then using my trend line algorithm, 58.29 if it goes below that. Now, on the flip side, for oil, you need to pay attention to the news. Okay, fundamentals drive this guy a lot. Look, another significant point right here. So my key resistance area is this. Sometimes when in doubt about a reaction point, switch your chart to line chart. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 times. Price reacted to it. If price goes above it, my first TP point will be around. I'll consider a buy after 63.31. I'll consider a sell with volumes below 60.32. This is US oil. Very beautiful patterns here. And this also sits very nicely with our strategy. So my first TP point will be around 64.00 psychological level. Around here. 1, 2. If it goes above that, this significant swing high right here, 64.60, which coincides with this significant swing high. All right. That's for oil. Ladies and gentlemen. Now, if you're looking for short-term targets, we see that there's a midway reaction. Why do I say midway? I'm going to give that a thin line. Look, price reacted significantly to it here. 1, 2, 3, 4. So if it breaks past 61.85, okay, if it breaks past 61.85, my next target will be 62.00 psychological level. Or maybe that's too close. Let's use this significant swing high right here. Yes, coinciding with this significant swing high as a target, 62.43. You see how the market is making sense? And then if it goes above that, I now start looking at this significant resistance point right here. Again, if price goes above 61.85, I'm going to target 62.43. If it goes above 62.43, I'll target 63.31. And if I want to be conservative, maybe 63.00 psychological level. So if it goes above that 63.31, above that 64.00, above that 64.60, pay attention to the news. Anything that will fuel high demand of oil will boost the price. Anything that will reduce supply of oil will boost the price. Anything that will increase supply will reduce the price. Anything that will reduce demand, okay, will reduce the price. Pay attention to news, such as the crisis between Russia and Ukraine, the crisis between Taiwan and China, the crisis between Iran, I think Pakistan and India also, and Iran in the Asian regions. Any new crisis will fuel the demand for oil. OPEC Plus hasn't been engaging in order to boost the price of oil. Pay attention to that. That's oil. Now, Ethereum, the almighty Ethereum, and we'll call it a day. Ethereum ascending channel. I talked about Ethereum double top on the topic um, do indicators really work? Go to Facebook, find it. Do indicators really work? Part 2. I talked about this strategy right here. Okay, Ethereum has formed two necks, 1 and 2. All right, and it's currently at the 100-day moving average. It's broken below it, but it's not convincing enough yet. So my take is moving along an ascending channel. If it breaks below we have captured all our take profits, by the way, from Facebook. If it breaks below the ascending channel support border, then I'll look at selling to this significant point here, 2450.1. In the long term, this is for our chart. In the long term, okay? If it goes further below that, then perhaps 2387.6. One significant swing low right here. Okay, if you want to be conservative, this significant swing low and this guy here, we'll put it at 2418.8.9 Ethereum. Now, on lower time frames, it seems to have formed a bullish change of character. Yes, seems to have formed a bullish change of character. All right, but it also seems to be moving nicely along, perhaps a descending channel. So pay attention. There you go. Also, we have this guy right here. So, if price on lower time frames, scalping, breaks above this key order block level 1, 2, 3, which coincides with 2560. If it breaks above it, my first profit point will be 2579.63 on Vestrado's platform, by the way. 2579.63. All right. Now that level also coincides with the resistance border of the channel, which is the green line here. When it touches it, pay attention for reactions. Do you understand? Now, if it breaks above the resistance border of the channel, then I'll target 2591.0. Above that, perhaps this low, okay, and this one right here, this high, 2605.7. That's Ethereum. What's my take? Am I bullish, bearish, or neutral? I always tell my students one thing: time your entry on crypto with Bitcoin. Bitcoin right now, the outlook has broken past an ascending bearish. So because of that, for Ethereum, I favor bearish positions more for Ethereum. You understand? I'll prefer to go on bearish positions. Another reason why I prefer bearish positions is this: it seems to have broken below the support border of this channel with this very strong bearish volume right here. This long candle shows volume. Let's look at the volume analysis indicator. You can see that. Okay. Higher than the rest. Nice volume. So because of that, it shows that the bearish momentum is still very strongly in the market for Ethereum. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that's that for our training for today, our live session. It's been a great evening. I hope you learned something. 1 hour, 30 minutes. Woof! We have tried. As always, I'm Atomashi Dania, Vestrado's Global Market Analyst. Remember, whatever you do in the market, don't be overconfident. All right? There are millions of traders in the world, and there are thousands of strategies. No man is an island. No one strategy is king. No one strategy is king. Okay? Don't be greedy. Learn to wait. Waiting is trading. And whatever you do, remember the trend is your friend and trade